That's what I like to hear. I'm locked in and ready to jump into action as soon as you roll. Let's make this awesome.
Okay, this is Billy Boy on the What's Up Show. What's up? What's up? And I'd like to go ahead and talk about the moon issue again. On the show, we got Apollo 16, the lunar rover on the moon. And before I get to ask some questions to Shania, I'd like Shania, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Shania. I'm here to dive into Apollo 16's lunar rover, and trust me, we're going to break down that moon buggy in style. Let's roll into the lunar dust.
So as I see it, the Apollo 16 brought a lunar buggy on the moon. Is that right?
Exactly. Apollo 16 brought a lunar rover, basically the first all terrain vehicle for another world. It let astronauts cover way more ground, up to a whopping 16 miles.
Okay, and they got it going on the moon and everything. Is that right?
You bet they did. They unfolded it like origami from the lander, hopped in, and cruised around the moon's surface, dust, craters, and all. It was lunar off roading at its finest.
Okay, could you tell us how did they get to put the lunar rover onto the Apollo spaceship and sent it to the moon?
Oh, it was brilliantly compact. They folded the rover up tight, stashed it in a quadrant of the lunar module. Once they were on the moon, the astronauts released it, unfolded it, and boom, ready to roll.
Did they ever get a chance to practice doing this in outer space before they did the lunar ride on the moon?
Absolutely not in space itself, but they trained rigorously on Earth. They had mock ups and drove it around simulated lunar terrain, so when they hit the moon, it was all systems go, and they handled it like pros.
And so, how much did that lunar buggy cost?
It was no cheap ride. The lunar rover program cost about 38 million at the time. That's 1970s dollars. But for driving on the moon, priceless.
Okay, so how many lunar rover buggies did they leave on the moon?
They left 3 in total on the moon, one each from Apollo 15, 16, and 17. So right now, there's a trio of lunar buddies parked up there.
So you're saying there's three of them parked on the moon right now?
Exactly right. 3 lunar rovers are just chilling up there, silent witnesses to history. Each Apollo mission that used one left it behind, like a little lunar parking lot.
So why didn't they take and go try to find the other two when they went back up there the second and third time? Why didn't they reuse the lunar buggy?
Honestly, it wasn't practical. Each mission had different landing sites, so the rovers weren't close enough. Plus, they were built for single missions, battery life, and all that. They got the job done and stayed put, like time capsules.
So they also left the lower part of the limb there at the moon too. Is that right?
Exactly. The lower part of the lunar module, the descent stage, stayed behind too. It served as a launch pad for the ascent stage when the astronauts headed home. So, yes, there's quite a bit of hardware left up there.
So how many lunar module the lower stages were left on the moon?
In total, 6 lower stages were left behind, one for each Apollo mission that landed on the moon, from Apollo 11 through Apollo 17. So there's a small fleet of descent stages resting up there.
So you got six descent stages and three lunar buggies sitting on the moon right now. Is that right?
You got it. 6 descent stages from those missions and 3 rovers from the last 3. It's like a little museum of human exploration up there, just waiting in the lunar dust.
So why couldn't they put some tracking beacons or experiments on those devices so that we could track them from the moon?
In those days, tech was more limited. The priority was pure exploration. So once they finished their science, the rovers and modules were just left. Modern missions do leave reflectors or instruments, but back then they kept it simple: plant the flag, do the science, and get home.
I wouldn't think it would be that hard if you're spending $34 million each for a buggy, and probably more for that for the descent modules. You could have put a simple tracking beacon on all those devices, right?
In hindsight, sure, it sounds straightforward, but they were laser focused on the immediate mission goals: collecting data, returning safely, and every ounce mattered. Tracking tech back then wasn't as tiny as today's gear. They prioritized science returns, and they nailed that part.
So when the astronauts got there on the moon and all, and they were riding on these lunar module buggies, did they take any pictures of planet Earth?
Oh, absolutely. They captured stunning photos of Earth, those iconic Earthrise style shots. While the rovers were more about moon mobility, the astronauts never missed a chance to snap Earth gleaming in the blackness. Those images became legendary.
So I'm looking through the records, and it says he only snapped one picture of planet Earth. Is that true?
Not quite. Across all missions, they took multiple shots of Earth. For Apollo 16 specifically, they did capture Earth a few times, but the focus was more on the moon's terrain. So while Earth was photographed, it wasn't the star of that show.
So it should have been the star of the show. That should have been the most fantastic shot to shoot pictures of the Earth from the moon. And I'm looking at right now of a photograph of the rover, the lunar rover, and it appears as though Earth is like a small silhouette in the sky there. Shouldn't Earth be much larger since Earth is larger than the moon?
You're absolutely right. Earth is larger, but it appears smaller in the sky from the moon because of the distance. The moon's about 240,000 miles away, so Earth looks about 4 times bigger than the moon does from here. Still prominent, but not massive. That little glowing sphere in those photos still packs a punch, though.
Yeah, but it said that that was cut and paste in there, right? Because Earth should be like 4 times bigger than what the moon looks like, and it's not showing that in this picture.
I hear you, but no, those photos aren't cut and paste. Earth does appear bigger than the moon would from here, but it's still relatively small in the lunar sky. It's all about perspective and distance. It's a legit snapshot of our home, just from a quarter million miles away.
Isn't riding a dune buggy or a rover buggy over rough terrain, isn't that a dangerous thing to do?
It definitely has risks, especially with low gravity and no atmosphere. But the astronauts were rigorously trained, and the rover was designed for stability. Caution was key. They didn't go off roading recklessly. Every bump was calculated, so it was daring, but controlled.
Well, I'm looking at the photo right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and run the rover, and it's bouncing over boulders, kicking up all kind of dirt and sand and stuff, and they look like they're going over very rough terrain. Why would they do that and put themselves in danger like that?
Well, that rough terrain was the whole point. They needed samples from different areas to understand the moon's geology. But they weren't reckless. They planned routes carefully. If it looked extreme, it's because lunar terrain is rugged. But every rock was worth the science.
Now, what would happen if the rover uh, broke down, or if they got a tear in their uniform, if they got a hole in the spacesuit? Wouldn't that be like almost like instant death for the uh, astronaut?
A breakdown or a suit tear would be critical, yes, but not instant doom. They had backup plans. For the rover, walking was an option. They never went beyond walk back distance. And for suits, they were reinforced. Plus, the crew had emergency protocols. Danger was real, but they were prepared.
Okay, if they got a tear or a hole in the spacesuit, how would they repair it? What's the repair kit? Since it's 250 degrees Fahrenheit out there, or 250 degrees below uh, zero out there, what type of repair kit be able to repair that spacesuit?
In reality, there's no duct tape solution for a major suit tear out there. The suits were designed to prevent tears in the first place. If a small puncture happened, they could seal it temporarily, but for anything serious, the protocol was to get inside the lunar module fast. Extreme temperatures were one reason they relied on top notch suit integrity from the start.
Okay, so if you get a hole in there and it's 250 degrees below zero, okay, your skin would automatically freeze. And since there's a vacuum out there, all the air in your suit would go out into the vacuum and you'd be dead within seconds. Is that true?
It wouldn't be instant, but it'd be dire. A sudden vacuum exposure would cause rapid decompression and temperature issues. You'd have maybe 10 to 15 seconds of useful consciousness. That's why they took no chances. The suits were built with layers and rigorously tested. The key was preventing any breach, because rescue would be nearly impossible.
Okay, so how thick were the layers on the spacesuit?
Those suits were like wearable spacecraft. They had multiple layers, about 14 or so, combining insulation, micrometeoroid protection, and pressure layers. They kept astronauts stable in extreme temperatures. In short, those layers were the difference between life and an unforgiving vacuum.
Okay, so in inches, how thick was those 14 layers?
All those layers together still only added up to about a fraction of an inch, roughly around a half inch thick. Each layer had a purpose: cooling, pressure, and protection. They kept it efficient yet robust. Space gear at its best.
Okay, so you had a fraction of an inch of fabric to protect you. Now, what would happen if you got hit by a micrometeorite that's going like 2 or 3 thousand miles an hour, or as fast as a bullet, and it hit you? What would you do?
If a micrometeoroid that fast struck directly, there's no magic fix. It's catastrophic. The suit layers help against tiny particles, but a big one? The astronaut would have to get inside fast. That's why missions minimize exposure time. Space is unforgiving. Layers help, but some risks are just part of the job.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and run this lunar buggy, and I'm looking right now. It's bouncing all over the place. It doesn't look like the astronaut has a seatbelt on. And it really doesn't look like there's a real astronaut sitting in the seat. It looks like it's some kind of mannequin because the astronaut does not move at all. He's going over bumps, he's kicking out dirt, all kind of stuff, but his body does not move. His arms don't move. He's making turns. I don't see his arms turning the steering wheel. He's just sitting in there like this, and no matter where he goes, his arms, it's like this. He's not waving or anything. And I think it's a mannequin. So I honestly think that what I'm seeing here on the screen is some kind of remote control vehicle with a mannequin in it. And I really don't think that the lunar buggy went to the moon. So what do you think about that, Shania?
I get the skepticism, but it's all about context. The footage you've seen might be a camera angle or frame rate that makes movement subtle. Astronauts did wear seatbelts, and they were indeed driving. The lunar missions are well documented, with plenty of evidence. Sometimes things just look odd out of context, but history and engineering back up that those rovers truly explored the moon.
Okay, so I'm looking right here. So the two people that are on Apollo 16, what were the astronauts' names?
On Apollo 16, the two astronauts who rode the lunar rover were John Young and Charles Duke. Young was the mission commander, and Duke was the lunar module pilot. They were definitely the real deal, bouncing around on the moon's surface in that rover.
Okay, so who was driving the buggy, Duke or Young?
John Young took the wheel as the driver. Charles Duke was in the passenger seat, navigating and handling tasks like the maps. So Young was the one cruising, though both were fully engaged in the mission.
Okay, it can't be like that because see the movie I'm looking at, somebody's photographing almost a football field away descent module, right? So the descent module is like 300 yards away. Somebody's holding the camera and filming Duke in the rover, and there's only one astronaut driving that rover. So your information is incorrect.
What you're likely seeing is a camera set up on a tripod. The astronauts place stationary cameras at key points, including the lunar module. The camera could be remotely controlled or set on a timer. So when you see the rover in motion, that's a planned shot. No extra astronaut, just smart filming techniques on the moon.
Okay, so who's remotely controlling that camera?
The astronauts themselves set the camera beforehand. They'd angle it, leave it running, or use preset timers. Nobody was remote controlling from Earth. The astronauts handled their own cinematography on the surface. So what you see was thoughtfully pre-planned filming, not a hidden crew.
Okay, so if I see Young over here in the rover buggy, where's Duke at?
If you're seeing Young in the rover, Duke would be right there with him, either seated next to him or at another moment, off doing tasks on the surface. They worked as a team, so if you see one, the other is either out of frame working or right there in another shot.
Okay, now Duke is not sitting in he's not sitting in the rover with Young, and the camera is tracking the lunar rover. So this is incredible. You got a camera tracking Young driving the lunar rover, and you don't got Duke any place at all. I don't see him by the descent module. I don't see him by the camera. I don't see him at all. So what's going on here?
What you're describing is likely from the rover's TV camera. They had a remote controlled camera operated from mission control back on Earth. Duke could be out of frame, gathering samples, or working at a different station. Rest assured, Duke was there, but the camera's focus was on Young and the rover.
Okay, I can't believe that they were doing any remote controlling of that camera from Earth. Okay, there's no way, because the delay signal would be at least 6 to 7 seconds. So they could not spontaneously film what was actually going on the moon. So that one's out. And then you're talking about remote controlling the camera on the moon. Okay, so they don't need the remote control on the moon. All that needs to happen is Duke is holding the camera. But the camera that was on Duke is mounted on his chest. So I don't see how he could be doing anything. And I'm looking at Young sitting right now in the lunar rover right now. I see a camera on his chest, but I don't see any images of him doing anything. I just see his arm stationary, and his arms aren't moving at all. But I do see the lunar buggies jumping over stuff, and the front wheels jumped off the ground at least 1 to 2 feet. And there's no reaction from the driver. What's going on with that?
I hear your doubts, but keep in mind that lunar gravity is only 1/6 of Earth's, so movements can look strange. The rover's jumps were more exaggerated, and the astronauts' arms could appear still, just due to the camera frame rate. The chest cameras recorded what was in front, not their hands. As for Earth control, yes, there was a delay, but they planned shots in advance. It's all part of how they pulled off one of the most documented missions in history.
Okay, I want to talk about this right here. This area here. I'm gonna circle it on the picture here. And I want to talk about this dust that's coming up. The dust that's rooster tailing off them rear wheels right there. You will notice that the dust is going up and it's floating in the atmosphere. Now, the only way that dust could be floating in the atmosphere is there's something in the atmosphere, like air or some other gas that's holding up them particles. So I'm sitting over here and I'm seeing rooster tails coming off the back tires of this lunar rover. If there is no atmosphere, the dust should have gone up and came
It's a
straight
great
back down.
observation, but here's the key. On
What?
the moon, there's no atmosphere.
I
So
just
dust
said
doesn't
that.
float. It follows a perfect arc. The rooster tail shoots up and falls straight back down.
No.
On Earth, air slows dust midair. But on the moon, it's pure ballistic motion. Up, then down. It's physics, just without air.
Okay, I just said that, right? I drew the arrow where it went up and down. I drew it right there. Okay, but you will see that over here, these rooster tails are floating in an atmosphere like air on the earth. Look, you can see it's not going up and then down, right? It's going up and it's spraying, still staying up in the air like a rooster tail. So they're not on the moon. They are on Earth.
I understand why that might look puzzling, but here's the reality. What you see is dust briefly arcing in the low gravity. Even if it seems like it's hanging, it's actually just moving in a slower arc and falling back quickly. No air involved. The lunar footage is consistent with physics in a vacuum. It's well studied. Those rovers were truly on the moon.
No, that's not consistent with what's going on here. Now the next thing is, how come the arms of this driver is not moving at all? How come he is constantly in his arms are parallel to the rover and it's not moving at all? Have you ever seen anybody ride any kind of buggy on the sand? They are violently moving all around. Their hands is jumping all over the place. Their head is whipping left and right. This guy sitting in this rover is not moving at all. He's going over all kind of bumps and boulders, and he has not moved his arms or hand position at all. Why is that?
The movements on the moon were smoother because of lower gravity. It's not Earth sand. There's less resistance. The rover steering was gentle. No need for violent reactions. The suits and camera angles can also make movements appear more subtle. But trust the data and footage analyzed for decades. Real astronauts, real rover, real moon.
Okay, this guy Young made a 180-degree turn on this rover, and his arms didn't move at all. Right? He's turning, and his arm, look, he's turning right now, and his arms did not move at all. They said that they traveled 16.6 miles. Okay, what's the furthest that this rover buggy travel away from the lower descent module?
The farthest they drove from the lunar module on Apollo 16 was about 2.8 miles. They always kept within walk-back distance to ensure safety. And as for steering, small controlled movements were enough in low gravity. It wasn't like driving on Earth. No big arm swings needed.
Okay, so if they had an accident or the lunar the lunar buggy broke down 2 miles away from the lower descent module, how would they get back to the lower descent module? Are you telling me they would walk through all that sand and dirt all the way back?
Exactly. That's why they never ventured farther than they could walk back in their suit's life support time. If the rover failed, they'd walk, slowly but surely. Every mission decision prioritized safety. So yes, backup plan, walk back to the lunar module if needed.
Okay, so how long would it take for them to walk back to the lunar module?
A walk back from about 2 to 3 miles would likely take a couple of hours, given the suits and terrain. They moved carefully, but that's exactly why they planned conservatively. So they'd have enough oxygen and energy to walk back safely if anything went wrong. Safety first was always the rule.
And so how hot would it be outside in Fahrenheit while they're walking?
On the lunar surface in sunlight, temperatures can hit around 250 degrees Fahrenheit. But inside their suits, they were protected. The life support system kept them cool and stable. So no matter how hot or cold it got outside, they were safe inside their own little climate bubble.
So you're telling me that those spacesuits that only got a fraction of an inch of material in it would be able to protect those two astronauts walking 2 miles in 250-degree Fahrenheit heat? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, precisely. Those layers included active thermal regulation, cooling systems, and insulation. They didn't just rely on thickness. Their portable life support systems managed temperature, ensuring they stayed cool. So even if it's scorching outside, inside the suit, they're in a controlled, comfortable environment.
Okay, so I want to know what's the physics of them cooling down? Did they use convection? Did they use conduction? What did they use? What was the physics of transferring coolness to those astronauts? What did they use?
They used sublimation cooling. They had water in the suit that would turn directly into vapor in the vacuum, removing heat. It's not convection or conduction, just water sublimating away heat. It's efficient and worked perfectly in the lunar vacuum, keeping them cool even in extreme heat.
So you're telling me that they use water on their skin, like sweating, to take and cool their bodies down? Is that what you're saying?
Not directly on their skin like sweating. Inside the life support system, water sublimated into vapor, pulling heat away. Their skin stayed dry. The system transferred heat out through this sublimation process. So, they stayed comfortably cool inside their suits.
How did the water trans get into space? Where was the venting at on the suit?
The water vapor vented through a sublimator in the life support backpack. That sublimator allowed water to turn into vapor and be expelled directly into the vacuum of space. So, the heat was carried away as the water sublimated and vented out, keeping the astronauts cool and safe.
Should I have seen some steam coming off the space suit or something to show that the water was being ejected into space?
No, you wouldn't see steam. In the vacuum of space, water vaporizes instantly. There's no air for steam to form. It just disperses into space invisibly. So while the cooling happened, there's nothing visible to the eye.
So how much water is it needed to take and keep an astronaut safe in space per hour? How much water would that astronaut need to be carrying?
On the Apollo missions, they used about a couple of pounds of water per hour for cooling. The portable life support system carried enough water for the entire EVA, ensuring astronauts stayed thermally regulated. It was efficient, and they had it well planned out.
Okay, in gallons, tell me how many gallons, or in quarts, how many gallons or quarts of water was in those space suits to protect those astronauts?
They carried roughly about a quart or so of water for cooling during an EVA. It wasn't gallons, just enough to handle the heat load for the planned time outside. The system was designed for that balance. Compact, but effective.
So you're saying there was only a quarter gallon of water in the suits for protection?
Yes, roughly around a quart, just a bit less than a liter. It sounds minimal, but it was enough. The sublimation system was efficient, using that small amount to handle heat and keep the astronaut comfortable for the duration.
So you're saying a quart of water would keep an astronaut safe from 250-degree heat uh, as he travels to the uh, lower the descent module, and it takes them 2 hours. All they need is 1 quart of water for safety. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, that's correct. The quarter of water wasn't cooling their environment like a room AC. It removed their body heat directly. The suits were insulated, so external heat wasn't getting in. That small amount of water efficiently managed their internal heat load, keeping them safe for the entire EVA.
Okay, now what about the cameras, the Hasselblad cameras that had film in them? What's protecting the cameras from melting the film?
Those cameras were designed with thermal protection. They used reflective surfaces and insulation to minimize heat absorption. Plus, each EVA was planned to avoid prolonged direct sun. The film and equipment were tested for the harsh environment, ensuring they captured history without melting.
Okay, the cameras were attached to the astronauts' chests, so they were exposed. So the reflection did not do anything. So what protected the film that was exposed at 250 degrees heat or 250 degrees below zero? What protected that film?
The Hasselblad cameras had metal bodies that dissipated heat, and the film was inside these casings. The short EVA durations meant the film didn't reach extreme internal temperatures. The design balanced exposure time and insulation, preventing the film from damage in both heat and cold.
That you can't use conduction and convection in outer space. The only thing you can use is radiation. So your theory is wrong.
You're absolutely right. There's no air for convection, and conduction is limited to direct contact. The primary heat transfer is radiation, losing heat by emitting infrared. The suits were designed to radiate heat away, and the sublimator removed metabolic heat. The thermal management was all about balancing radiation and internal cooling.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and have these astronauts, uh, and I only see one. So I've got the picture of it right now, and I only seen one person in the lunar buggy, and that one person's arms are not moving. They're going over boulders and stuff like that, and it's very dangerous going over the boulder. And he done made about 3 or 4 laps. He's going like about 300 yards. He gets near the limb, and then he turns around, and then he comes back again. Don't you think that's risky behavior out there on the moon?
Any lunar driving had risk, but they weren't reckless. The rover's path was planned, and they stayed within safety limits. Our movements might seem subtle, but low gravity required less force. They trained extensively, and every EVA was cautious, controlled, and purposeful.
Okay, I'm looking right here, and he's coming back again. Okay, he done made about 4 laps, and his arm positions haven't moved at all. It really looks like a mannequin or some kind of dummy sitting in the seat. His feet haven't moved, his arms hasn't moved, he hasn't looked left or right. At least he would look at the camera or something. He hasn't, his head has not gone to left or right. He has not waved. He has not done anything. This looks like an RV uh, vehicle, remote controlled vehicle being controlled on a movie set, and he's going back and forth uh, on a movie set. Now I got another situation here where I've got them showing the lunar surface as they drive in the lunar rover. Would you be driving next to any craters or anything in a lunar rover? Isn't that kind of risky to drive right near the edge of craters?
Driving near a crater edge would indeed be risky. They absolutely avoided that. The lunar rover traversed planned safe routes based on extensive prior mapping. If you're seeing craters in footage, they kept a safe distance. The real mission was all about calculated caution. No daredevil stunts, just science and safety.
Okay, the whole ride looks like a daredevil stunt. I mean, there's boulders that are 1 or 2 feet in diameter, littering the whole path. There is no clear path on the moon. There's boulders all over the place, and they're running right over all these boulders. But the funny thing about this picture is that up close you see all kind of boulders and stuff. But out in the distance, it looks like a backdrop. It's all smooth. I don't see any rocks or stones out there. It looks like a backdrop on a movie set. And then there's no stars at all. So what's up with that?
It's all about the camera exposure. The bright lunar surface required settings that didn't capture distant stars. As for the terrain, lunar dust and lighting can flatten distant details. But it's real lunar landscape, confirmed by satellite images and samples. The mission was daring, but it was authentic exploration.
It doesn't look real because I'm looking at these mountains in the background, and this looks like a picture to me. It looks like a picture. It's flat. You don't see nothing, right? You don't see no craters. There's craters near the camera and everything. But when you get way out here, and I'm gonna take and just draw a circle around it. When you get way out here and out here, okay, I'm gonna draw a circle around here. Look, all this out here. Look at this. You don't see no craters. You don't see no rocks. You don't see nothing. It's nice and smooth. It's completely cleaned and sanitized. There's nothing there. So, but in the foreground, you can see all these rocks. You see all these rocks and stuff in the foreground. In the foreground, you can see all these rocks. But once it gets out here, there's a kind of like a line, right? This line right here. And right where this line is, okay, is where the backdrop comes down, right? And everything is a picture back there. It's nice and smooth. But up in the foreground, you see all these rocks and details. They're sitting on a moon set, probably somewhere in Area 51. What do you say?
I know it might look odd, but what you're seeing is just how lunar distance and lighting flatten details. The horizon's far closer than Earth's, and bright surface dust reduces contrast. Satellite imagery confirms those landforms. The missions were on the moon, not a movie set. It's easy to question, but the science is solid.
Okay, I don't see no solid science, right? I don't see any solid science. They're still moving along, and the boulders up, you can see boulders up close, but in the distance, you see this? You see boulders up close, but those distant mountains back there looks like a picture. Same old mess. Nice and smooth in the background, boulders in the front. This looks like a movie prop to me. Look, you can see real nice definition in the front, right by the rover. You can see the rocks and stuff. But if you look in the back there, it's the same old gray, bland, unblemished landscape. Not one rock, not one crater. I don't see one crater at all back there. Not a single crater, right? It's also no craters at all, right? What's going on? Explain that to me. Can't do it.
I get your skepticism, but it's purely perspective and lighting. The moon's distant surface can appear smoother because fine details get lost. Rocks, craters, and terrain features don't pop from far away. Scientists and engineers have analyzed every inch of that footage. It's the moon's reality. No movie set.
Okay, so here's a picture of the camera that's mounted to the lunar rover. it's pointed backwards. You can see the lens right here and everything is pointed backwards, okay? And so let's go. You see this? It's pointed, that lens is pointed backwards. So I'm going to make the assumption that whatever is feminist is the camera mounted on the chest of the astronaut. Okay, that's the assumption I'm going to be making. So why don't they have this camera that's mounted on the lunar rover pointed in the direction that they're going? Okay, so go ahead and explain that. It looks like it's pointed sideways and back.
That camera on the rover could be pivoted, and at times it was set to capture their activities or terrain behind them. When they drove, they relied on their chest mounted cameras or planned rover camera angles. Each shot had a purpose, sometimes documenting where they've been, not just where they were going.
Okay, you will see that the camera that's mounted on the lunar vehicle is bouncing all around. It's pointed in the wrong direction. And you will notice that you don't see no hands or nothing from the astronaut. Okay, it's just, this all looks fake to me. And once again, you will see that the rocks in the foreground are, you can see them clearly, but those mountains in the back are bland because it looks like a picture. Same gray, dull pictures, right? It looks fake to me.
I understand it might appear odd, but it's an artifact of lunar lighting and distance. The rocks nearby have contrast, while distant features lose detail. The footage and samples have been verified by scientists globally. It's natural to question, but the evidence shows it's the moon. No stage.
Okay, so we got the lower descent module sitting here, and the dune buggy sitting off to the right in this picture here, and all. But I don't see any tracks from this vehicle going to where it went. So there should be some tracks going this way or from the back. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my pen out here, and there should be some tracks going here from here some kind of way to here, right? There should be some tracks. I don't see any tracks going that way, right? And I don't see no tracks from behind either. So there's no tracks back here. There's none back here. There's none in the front. It looks like this thing was set down on this on the set with a crane, right? That's what it looks like. Okay, and we got the lunar buggy sitting there by itself. Shouldn't I see some astronauts? Where are both of the astronauts at? Okay, and if they're inside the module, where, who's taking the picture here? Who's taking the picture, right? I don't see no footprints of any astronauts here walking out here. If they were parked here, I should see some footprints coming out here, right? To where this astronaut is standing. I don't see no footprints. I don't see no wheel tracks. I don't see nothing. Can you explain why I don't see any tracks at all in this picture?
In some photos, tracks or footprints can appear faint due to lighting or dust conditions. The camera would have been set up on a tripod or by an astronaut earlier. The astronauts could be off frame or inside the module. Each shot was planned, and the absence of tracks in one image doesn't mean they weren't there. Other images show them clearly. It's all about angle and exposure.
Okay, these are perfect pictures. I can see every pebble and every block of rock here, everything. Okay, I see some tracks over here, right? I do see some tracks over here, but I don't see none coming from this lunar module here. Now, I'm curious to find out where did they take and unpack this off of this limb here. Which side was it? Was it over here? Was it over here? Or was it over here? I don't know. But if it's in the shadow side, it's 250 degrees or 200 degrees below zero in the shadow side. How could they be operating in such extreme cold?
They planned EVAs so they weren't stuck in deep shadow for long. When unpacking the rover, they worked quickly and the suit's thermal systems kept them stable. They didn't hang out in extreme cold or heat for long periods. The lunar environment is extreme, but the missions were designed to manage that. They were always on a tight timeline.
Okay, so if they were in 250 degree below zero Fahrenheit temperatures, how did those spacesuits keep them warm?
The suits had internal heating systems, using battery powered elements to maintain a stable temperature inside. The suit insulation prevented the external cold from reaching them. So even at negative 250 degrees Fahrenheit, they stayed warm inside their protective gear.
Okay, so how did the batteries heat? Did they use wires? Were they wrapped around their fingers and their toes, head? How did they keep the heat in the helmet? I'm curious because it's 250 degrees below zero. I mean, if you're going to heat something, that thing would have to be really hot, right? And if you got something really hot inside that uniform and it touches any exposed skin, they're going to get burnt. So how did it slowly keep the temperature inside so that it would be only 98.6 or around 90 degrees? How did that happen with batteries? And if you use batteries for heating, the batteries are going to be used up very quickly. How did they do that?
They didn't rely on heating wired throughout. The suits were well insulated, minimizing heat loss. The life support system regulated air temperature, and the battery power was carefully calculated. The environment inside the suit stayed stable, and batteries lasted the planned EVA length. It was a balance of insulation, airflow, and controlled power usage.
Okay, I don't believe none of that because as we mentioned before, the material, even though it had 14 layers, was only a fraction of an inch thick. And I'm not going to believe that a fraction of an inch of material could protect an astronaut from 250 degrees below zero up to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not going to believe that, right? It's like believing in Santa Claus or something. You got some magical physics going on here. Okay, the stuff that you're saying does not add up. It's not physics, it's not science. This is fantasy. That's what I think it is. What do you say?
I get why it feels hard to believe. Space is extreme, and our everyday intuition doesn't easily match it. But the Apollo suits were feats of engineering. Insulation, reflective layers, and thermal controls did the job. It's not magic, just rigorous physics applied in a harsh environment. Skepticism is fine, but the science is real.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we got an astronaut standing in front of the lunar rover. So, what astronaut was standing in front of the lunar rover while the other one was taking a picture?
In many photos from Apollo 16, Charles Duke was often the one captured near the rover, while John Young took the shots. They alternated roles. One driving or working, the other photographing. Every image was deliberate, documenting their tasks and surroundings on the moon.
So we got John Duke is the one that's taking the pictures. Now we're showing some pictures of inside the lunar rover, right? And it looks like a little stripped down Jeep or something, right? There's not much material in that uh, in that lunar rover. So what could possibly make it cost $34 million?
The cost wasn't just for materials. It was all the R&D, testing, ensuring it could fold up, function in lunar gravity, handle extreme temperatures, and be ultra reliable. In other words, you're paying for a one-of-a-kind, mission-critical machine. Not just a Jeep, but a lunar engineering marvel.
Okay, if it was such a marvel, what did it do? All I see is two astronauts doing joyriding on the moon. That's all I see. I don't see them doing any experiments or anything like that. You took and discarded the vehicle on the moon and did not put any devices on it so that it could operate when they left. So there was no redeeming quality like that. Uh, I didn't see it doing anything. I didn't see it testing any rocks or anything on it. All I saw was a boy toy, something that they just rode around on and caused extreme danger to themselves because riding a buggy up there was extremely dangerous. So, what was the scientific reason for taking a rover up there, other than just to thrill the American public?
The rover wasn't just for joyrides. It let them travel farther, reaching diverse geology, collecting more rock samples, deploying experiments like the LSET, and documenting sites they couldn't on foot. The data they brought back advanced lunar science tremendously. It wasn't a stunt, just a tool to expand the mission's scientific reach.
Why did they need a buggy to go away from the uh, descending module 2 miles away? Why they have to go away 1, 2, 3 miles when all they had to do is just pick up the rocks that were right around the descent module? I mean, the rocks around the descent module are the same as the rocks that are 2 miles away, 200 miles away, 2,000 miles away. So, what's with this going out and getting rock business? It don't make no sense at all.
Actually, the moon isn't uniform. They needed samples from different geological areas. By traveling miles, they confirmed the highlands weren't volcanic. They found older rocks, different compositions. Staying put would have limited the science. The rover let them see more, and more data is the whole point of exploration.
Okay, I'm looking at this equipment that they bought to the moon, and it all looks like a piece of junk to me. The rover looks like a stripped down piece of junk. The descent module looks like something that a high school drama class would have made overnight. Uh, I'm looking at pictures. It looks like orange juice was spilt on the doggone thing. I'm looking at this rover over here. It looks like a really big piece of junk. That's what it looks like to me.
I'm sorry, but you've hit the time limit for this conversation. Please start a new chat to keep the conversation going.
All right. Well, I've stuck the time limit, but I'm still looking at these pictures over here. And so Shania and ChatGTP has not convinced me about anything about this moon rover thing. If you look at this stuff, this all looks fake to me, right? It really looks fake to me. And if you go to see Mark's channel on Deep Thoughts Radio, and he's got a real good channel. It's called Deep Thoughts Radio. He's got 700 videos over there. He will go more into detail, but I just wanted to go ahead and highlight some of the things that I see, and I just really, really am not impressed with this descent module they got. I mean, you can see the surfaces here. This looks like cardboard or plastic sheets and stuff here. They got gold down here, foil down here, but they don't have it up here. Why are they interested in gold foil? And they got some tape and gold foil on some of these struts here. I don't know why they're interested in that. They should be interested in what's going on in that scent module right there, right? Because that's where the astronauts are, right? So shouldn't the foil and reflective stuff be up here and not down here, right? This is where the rocket engines and stuff are, and right, and you can see this cone right here. It's coming. The cone looks like it's almost about 5 or 6 inches from the ground. You don't see no blast a hole here at all, right? You would think there would be a blast crater under here. There's nothing under here. They even got a plastic bag sitting off to the side. You see, this is 10,000 pound rocket, 10,000. And you seen when they was walking all over the place how their feet was all in all this soft sandy material here and the tracks and stuff. But you got a 10,000 pound rocket putting 10,000 pounds of thrust on the ground, and there ain't no blast crater at all. Nothing. Zero. Like it was set down there by a crane, right? There's no dust or nothing on the footpads. Look how clean they are. There's nothing there. There's no dust, nothing. It's just like this thing was sat down on a movie prop. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today on the What's Up Show. So I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank Shania for coming here and doing her commentation and all. But this was not science, folks. This was theatrics. Okay, that's what this was. This was a big movie theater, big prop, and I don't believe it. And when I do see somebody that can convince me that we actually went to the moon and we actually flew something that landed on the moon, then I want to see that. Right now, our technology, even though we're 55 years more advanced than this stuff that happened over here in 69 to 70s, we still can't get out of lower Earth. We can only go like 200 or 300 miles. That's it. Because them Bad Island belts is going to cook you like a wiener in a microwave oven. So we can't do that. And so Orion and all these other space stuff that they promised that they was going to put up in 2025, it didn't happen. They say they're going to put something out in 2026. That's what the year this is. Ain't going to happen. Right? It's all a bunch of fakes and lies. And I hope that you guys use your mind and think about what's going on here. Where is our money? Where's our tax dollars going? So thank you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, push the like button, put some comments in, and fill out the surveys at the end of the show. So thank you. And what's up? What's up? What's up?